And I always remind myself that this is a live feed, so I have to be a little more mindful of quite what I say or how I say it, even though rolling in my mind is the direct way. And on the left-hand side of the stage over here is Michelle. Michelle has been helping me now for the past couple of months in the office, and is, I'm sure, puzzled as to why folks don't pick up their plaques. But we brought them up here, and for the final time, we only have a few left. Let me name off the suspects. CHP Baldwin Park, Norwalk Station, Garden Grove, Baldwin Park PD, Rialto, and Long Beach. So if you're here in the room and you don't want to raise your hand now, and I understand why, please pick up the plaque before you leave the room today. Welcome to the third meeting of 5 meetings that take place before the race. This morning we held the communications seminar for new team captains, to give everyone the clearest picture possible of what you need on the race course, what's possible to work out there, and what clearly won't work. Communications is vitally important for everybody involved. You as an individual team captain to coordinate a team, us on the race course to make our emergency operations function, to make our medical function, and to be able to talk to each other as personnel on the race course itself. So it's all very necessary to have that. We have our guests in the room today, and I want to introduce them as we come along. And I'll save one for last, but right here in the line, light blue, our very, very good friend all the way from Idaho, who came down here today. This is Dave Welts. Stand up, Dave. For those that run at the first stage or come in and run the last stage, this is who you're going to see. He's the coordinator of the start line and the finish line. He's been doing this with me for a great, great number of years, and runs both those operations as he would when he worked SWAT and Metro, and everybody behaved themselves. So I want to thank Dave for coming in here today and for all his work in the past, for what he's done there at the start and finish. Michelle, again, Michelle has been in my office. This is Michelle right here. If you get mean phone calls, it's going to come from Michelle first. So I'll say, here, Michelle, here's a list of people. Call these folks up. They haven't done something. So she's the one that makes the phone call. And she's pretty nice about it. Me, I'm very blunt. If I can't catch you right on your cell phone, I'm going to call your station. If I can't catch you at the station, then I'm going to call the chief. No sergeants, no watch commanders, nobody in between. Right to the person in charge of you and say, where are you? Because I can't find you. It's vitally important, or I wouldn't be calling you. So please pay attention to phone calls that come in from our office and from Michelle, and hopefully from me. Next up is our National Life folks here. This is Manny. National Life is helping teams, a great number of teams, with fundraisers. And they've done a lot for a lot of teams here. I would advise you, money is always a problem. If you don't have it, then you're much like our retired team, and we simply say, okay, each member cough up this amount of money. Now, we're happy to do it. We're just happy to be retired and still be alive to do this. But you try to go get a $100 bill out of anybody that works for you or around you, and you're going to find that a very tough assignment, no matter what your cause is. So see them and see if they can't assist you in fundraising. Our lap rack store, they're operational here. You'll see the items that have been created for Baker to Vegas. The team t-shirts, which are located directly behind me on the stage. They don't have that shirt in stock right now, but they will. I'm sitting here very shortly. And I'll be able to dispense that shirt. 25 shirts comes with your entry fee. If you need 2, 6, 8 more than that, then come to the store and purchase them there, and they'll have those on supply for you there. Next up is our mobile relay associates. And again, the green form on your table right there is a raffle they're putting on today. So please fill that out, turn that in to Michelle, and at the end of the meeting, we'll draw a winner. But they're there to assist you with communications on the race course. The title sponsor for the race this year, the Los Angeles Police Federal Credit Union. They're in the room today. Stand up down there, Nicole or Natalie. And they are designing an item for the team captains. And my hope here is that we'll have that ready for delivery to you, team captains, at the February and the last meeting we hold here at the Academy. So look forward to that. They're doing a great job every year coming up with an item that we think is both practical and something you would like to have as the team captain for putting on the work that you do. And thanks to the credit union for all they're doing for us here. Enterprise rental car, Mott's, standing next to them right there. Stand up there, Mott's. I mentioned the Mott's today, and I know this will be a little tough, but I'll let Tony talk more about it in a few minutes here. The request for vehicles to use as your follow vehicle. Very, very important. What you functionally use as a follow vehicle. Renting minivans, which is the best out way to go, right there from Las Vegas, and pick it up there in Las Vegas and take it back in Las Vegas, is the only way to go. If you're not going to do that and you're going to function in some other capacity, then we'll get into that a little later on. But what you cannot use as a follow vehicle is a vehicle too large to function out there, too tall to see around it, too wide to operate in the shoulder lane. The vehicle must be able to operate completely in the shoulder lane. And for those of you that have been in the follow vehicles, you know what happens when you hit that rumble strip. The rumble strip that is the entire length of roadway in Nevada. From 160, which is about 45 miles of Highway 160 that we travel on, has a rumble strip that is so significant that it'll just take the teeth right out of your head if you hit it. So the vehicle cannot be too wide. Next to them is our Run to Remember, and Mark, who's here to talk more to teams and individuals that want to participate in that race. Very good race right in the middle of LA. And here today, and I was glad to see him, is Smitty, the far end of the room. Smitty is the gentleman that handles our requirements for signs. The caution runner ahead sign, that if you went back through your follow vehicle equipment and that sign is deteriorated or lost, then he's the person to talk to about getting another sign. But you will need a reflective number that is your team number that goes in the back of the follow vehicle. One set of numbers that's reflective. And Smitty's the person to talk to. So be sure that you see Smitty today. Let him know what is your team number. And if he doesn't have those numbers with him today, he'll bring them at the next meeting and you'll be able to have that squared away. Before I get into the folks on the stage and the team t-shirts, no race like this ever happens without just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of volunteers. Amongst those volunteers are the key people who actually coordinate their efforts. And in the 34 years of this race, there have been 3 people who have ever coordinated the RV support. These are the RV support folks on the stage. They came in today to help me issue t-shirts. They do that, they take the inventory, across the street, they're taking an inventory of all our equipment. In this period of time, all these years, there have only been 3 people. The second person who recently retired from doing this is very ill. Ray Best and his wife Janet not only coordinated the efforts of the RV support, they brought their entire family, extended family, all over the race course. You saw the name Best every place. And they just did a wonderful job. And I'm sad to hear that news about Ray. He's a good man. We will issue these t-shirts at this meeting. I will bring a supply of shirts into my office for teams that drop by sometimes without warning and want to pick up their team t-shirts. But I'll remind you, 25 shirts comes with the order. Be sure you fill that out, get in your team t-shirts. The deadline to complete the order is the 3rd of January. I will take all of the orders that are completed and fill those orders. To teams that do not submit an order before the 3rd of January are going to get what the cows leave behind. And the later they get, the oddball sizes are left. And so that's what they're going to get. So be sure you figure out what do you need by the 3rd of January. On the website, with a little bit of searching, you will find the refund policy of the race. Currently, as we stand here right now, there are 287 teams in this race. I got a phone call recently from National City Police, who ran in this race several years ago. He left a number and a name, and I made a phone call back. I've done that twice. I will not do it 3 times. If they want to run in the race, and I'm assuming they do, then they're going to need to follow up on that and do it quickly. So right now we have 287. My outhouse best guess is your best intentions of 10 teams will still fall apart, and 10 teams will drop out of the race. Look at the refund policy schedule to determine what's going to come back to you. Not the hard work, unfortunately, that won't come back. But the money that you spent on this race as an entry fee is gradually made smaller as you wait longer and longer into the effort. By the 28th of December, I will put out the password to all of you in here, all you team captains. I will send you the password that allows you to go into the runner registration system and begin to load your runners. You don't have to load all 25 or 20 at the same time. You can put 1 in, you can put 16 in. But it'll give you the password and the ability to get into that system and begin to load those runners. You'll have between now I believe it's the 12th, let's see, what's Monday? 17th. The 12th of March should be a Monday. I believe it is. You'll have between now and that Monday at 10 o'clock in the morning to load all those runners. Every year I've done this, somebody leaves a runner off the list, and they have 19 on the list. The system will not operate if you have 19 runners. So in which case, I'll try to make a phone call to you to say, who's the 20th runner? What's their name? If I don't find you, then they're going to go in as Joe Doe until I figure something else out in order to make this system operational. So you have a lot of time to load who these runners are and to change it if you think it's necessary to change. Hotel information. Reminded by, get the date right, reminded by the general manager, Ruben Crane, that January 31st is the deadline for the early bird pricing at the Westgate Hotel. January the 31st. That will turn the system off, and February 1st, it'll be a supply and demand. My son reminded me, why did I pick the 17th of March? And I said, for a million reasons. He says, don't you know that's March Madness? I said, I'm not a basketball person. It means nothing to me. He says, but Las Vegas is crowded, and that's true, it will be. That's the first period of the opening of the March Madness, and anybody and everybody that wants to bet on that kind of stuff, they're in Las Vegas. Las Vegas is a supply and demand hotel operation. What might go for 20 bucks on a Tuesday is now $200 on that Tuesday. That's just how it works. So be sure that you pass this information on to the consumers, your teams, your members of your teams, that they have until the 31st to make that decision. The communications seminar, I'm sure, went over the absolute need for radio communication. Today we have two of those radio communications folks in the room. Karen Weisenhunt from Omni, Mobile Radio Associates here. Bearcom will come out in a flyer to you. There is information available to you. Take a look at what your needs are, what do you want to do, and be sure that you get some kind of communications going. Dave mentioned to me today about what happens if the follow vehicle cannot follow the runner for a multitude of reasons. Flat tires, breaks down, stuck in the sand, has to pick up their down runner and take them to the exchange point. What happens to your runner who's out there running? Does the transport vehicle, if you had one, can they follow the runner? Well, true. Yes, they could. If they were right there and they knew the problem, they could do that. Well, you can't read minds, so you're going to need some sort of communications to be able to talk car to car and to know there's a problem. So look at your situation. Jeff Lee, raise your hand here, Jeff. Jeff, who did the communications seminar today, is the frequency coordinator. He will coordinate all of the frequencies we use on this race course, and every imaginable kind of radio, things you've heard of, things you haven't heard of. He coordinates all of those, including the FRS radio used in the follow vehicle, the FRS radios used by teams. All of these is coordinated by Jeff. One method to do this, the communications form. January 3rd, right, Jeff? Becomes operational? The 2nd? January the 2nd, 2018, the form will become operational. It will be posted on the website. You will go onto that form, click on it. It takes you through a link to a different form for you to complete. Complete the form. If you're renting radios, as I imagine most of you will, then the rental company will know what frequency is this radio going to operate on. I doubt you know that. So if you can tell Jeff where you're renting the radio from, then he'll be able to follow up and get that frequency. First in gets what they want. Last in doesn't get what they want. Simple as that. And if you're last in and you want to use something and 3 other people are using it, Jeff is going to be able to say, sorry, you can't use that frequency. Find something else. So don't find yourself in that position. It has a short window of time. The due date on that form is the 26th of January. And in a very short period of time, I will begin to send you a form status list. On the form status list, it's going to say CO, communications. X means you've turned in your form. No X means you have not. And as we get closer to that date, the more I look at that form to say, has this been done? Then I begin to gently remind you, hey, you need to get this done. And then we'll become the mean reminder. You got till tomorrow to get it done. Well, don't find yourself in that scrambling around position. So no matter whether you're using radios or you're not using anything at all, every single team needs to turn in that communications form. Vendor operation. Occasionally I'll get information from a team that says they have somebody that wants to be in the vendor operation. And that's fine. I believe we still have space, right, Ruben? Okay, but it will eventually run out. And so don't wait. If you have somebody that you think is interested in doing this, then make the phone call to us here. I'll put you in contact with the general manager, Ruben, and you can begin to work out those details. Now I'm going to pause here and bring up my other guest. Come on, Tony. Most of you know Tony. This is Tony Adler. I've been associated with the race for the better part of 25 or 30 years. Is my assistant race coordinator. And I'm going to try to give Tony more and more a bigger role in what we do here and to pick up this operation. And in the period of time between now and the short distance there is to the 2018 race, and then the 2019 race, and then you're going to have to listen to his interpretation of English all the time. But he's up here today to talk about follow vehicles, so pay attention.
Well, thank you, Chuck. My English is not that bad. I came from South Africa 40 years ago. I just can't get rid of the accent that much. So for most of you, I think you'll understand it as I go along. Here today to talk a little bit about the follow vehicles and their role in the race. Obviously, the two major concerns or the two responsibilities of that follow vehicle are, number one, is to protect the runner. And that's in the form of basically a blocking of the vehicle from speeding past it. So the actual physical presence of the follow vehicle is that protection. And so that kind of determines what kind of vehicle that you're going to be using to follow that runner. The second portion of that is to aid the runner and give them nourishment as needed. So it's kind of a dual role. And let's start out first with the type of vehicle that you should be using out on the race course. You know, we've had everything from motorcycles to Hummers to trucks to diesel trucks. And what we would prefer to see, the best vehicle to use out there would be a minivan. So we would prefer to use it. Half of the race course from the start line to Pahrump is a 2-lane road. And, you know, we got to allow other vehicles to pass. And so we don't want to be blocking the roadway too much. But at the same time, we want to be able to protect the runner. So we found that a minivan with a sliding door is probably the best bet. When you do get that vehicle, whether you bring it from wherever you're coming from or you rent it in Las Vegas, it's critical that the staff who's going to be manning that vehicle be familiar with some of the items in it. And we've had a couple problems over the years. One of them, or quite a few of them, have been flat tires. So the follow vehicle crew didn't know how to get the jack out, didn't even know where the jack was located, was unfamiliar on how to get it all together, and lost a lot of time, and we had to find another vehicle to follow behind the runner. One of the other problems is when you do an exchange of the crew, sometimes that follow vehicle will pull off into the desert somewhere, and sure enough, you'll be stuck spinning your tires trying to get out of there. So, you know, have the follow vehicle personnel be familiar with that follow vehicle, either do it the day you pick it up, or certainly sometime before the race, and know where all of those items are inside that follow vehicle. We suggest that when you do get that vehicle, we've had a couple of vehicles run out of gas on the course. before you leave Baker. The morning of the race, that's where you probably, the last fill-up is gonna be in Baker. The next available spot would be Shoshone. Who knows what the gas prices would be there, and then on into Pahrump. So load it up in Baker, and I would also suggest that probably in Baker is a good time to sign all the equipment that you're gonna be sticking onto the vehicle. The strobes, the magnets, everything that you need to go out to the start line, and test it in Baker before you go out on the road. Because once you get out to the follow vehicle staging area, there's no way to check, or there's no way to fix something if it's broken. So try to do that in Baker. Obviously, if you have these big flags coming off the vehicle, you don't want to do that in Baker. But certainly when you get to the follow vehicle staging area, there'll be another time to put those flags on. Inside of the vehicle, obviously, the electrical components and how you set everything up. Try to get someone who knows what they're doing to set all those electrical systems up. Someone from maybe your shop garage at work, or someone who knows how to do that, because we've had a few vehicles that blew some fuses and could not repair them out on the course, or actually killed the car itself. So try to get that done by someone who knows what they're doing as far as the electrical components go. Inside of the car, on the website, we have the follow vehicle checklist that you will be giving to your follow vehicle personnel, and they will go through that list and tick off the items, and when they get to follow vehicle staging, they'll hand that list in to the person collecting them. Those are the mandatory items. But there are other items that are not included on that list that we call it basically a hell box, something that you possibly wouldn't think of that should be inside that box. Maybe some spares, some extra FRS radios, some batteries, maybe some mechanical equipment if you need it. Toilet paper is one of them. Which brings up a point that I've seen a couple follow vehicle people think that they have to use something inside of that follow vehicle to go to the restroom. That's not the case. If someone inside the follow vehicle needs to use the facilities, if you pull up to an exchange point, it's okay to stay at an exchange point for a few minutes, have the person go in to the porta potties, do what they need to do, get back in the follow vehicle. So the runner will be by themselves for a short period of time. We understand that, that's okay, and then just pull up next to them and get them behind them. So bringing up to, we spoke about the vehicles, the first aid, and this leads into the type of personnel that you pick to be inside those follow vehicles. There are some people that have, throughout the years, done the entire race themselves, driving, observing, aiding, all that stuff. And I think over the years, I'm sure by show of hands, you have at least 2 or 3 follow vehicle crews that take over at different points during the race. And we would hope and expect that to be the case. I would say the average would be probably 3 exchanges. 4 would be ideal. When you do the follow vehicle or the crew exchange, do not do it in front of the exchange point. Go a couple miles out past it, find an empty spot off the side of the road and do the exchange right there. That way we won't crowd the exchange point themselves. We want to be able to pick dependable, and I want to say experienced people inside that follow vehicle. Their job is probably one of the most critical out there on the race course. If there is an emergency, they are the first responders, and they're going to be right there to take care of the needs. Obviously the biggest medical emergencies we have out on this race are during the daylight hours, somewhere between the start line and probably Pahrump. And the major medical emergency is obviously dehydration, runner going down. So inside that follow vehicle, we would recommend at least 4 people. Number 1 will be the driver. Sole function is to drive. follow the rules of the road, get behind the runner, straddle that line so they're halfway in the dirt, halfway on the roadway, and so they can let traffic by. That's their sole mission. Second would be the observer, or the passenger. Their main function, obviously, to keep time, but probably the biggest issue is to monitor the runner. And we're looking for signs of fatigue, we're looking for signs of dehydration, trying to prevent the runner from going down before it actually happens. Easier said than done. You should be able to look for the warning signs, runner running from side to side, the pale skin or the color of the individual, maybe lack of sweating, unable to communicate with you. Those are the type of signs that you would look for in a runner that's fatigued. And so we would need an observer or someone in that follow vehicle to look for those signs. So I would suggest either a police officer, hopefully someone, maybe a medical person, firefighter, someone that can be able to look at that and prevent a medical emergency from happening. The other person in the vehicle would be the alternate runner. And that runner should be ready to go at a moment's notice should the runner go down, and you would have to swap out the runner. Now, in most cases, or not most cases, but in a lot of cases, we have individuals that are pretty light, and say, God forbid, someone went down and we had to pick them up off the roadway, put them in the follow vehicle, might be easy to do. But if it's someone that's a heavier stature person, you might want to think of individuals inside that follow vehicle that would have the capability of picking up that person and putting them into the follow vehicle and driving for help. So those are some of the things you need to start thinking about. And the actual role and responsibilities of those individuals will come further on down the road. Dave will certainly give that speech in Las Vegas on Friday night, where we want all those follow vehicle people to attend those meetings so they can hear that briefing. In a couple of years past, Chuck and I sent out a series of newsletters leading up to the race, designed specifically for those follow vehicle personnel. And I'm not sure if we're going to have the time to do it this year, but if we do, we'll be asking you for their particular emails, for all of the emails of your follow vehicle personnel only. But don't send it yet until we ask for it. So those are some of the things you need to start thinking about, the type of follow vehicle and the people that you're going to be putting in there. That's it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Tony. Follow vehicle inspection. This pertains to new teams only. That's the only teams we're actually going to inspect your follow vehicle. One location only, in Las Vegas, Friday, 4 p.m. to 5:30. For 90 minutes, we'll inspect only. Now, drive to Las Vegas on a Friday, you leave at 7 a.m., no problem. Leave at 2 in the afternoon, you got a big problem. I don't care what Friday it is. It is a busy drive, so don't hang up our follow vehicle inspection crew because you're late. We'll inspect those vehicles only, new vehicles. I'm going to include in the minutes the estimated time error of last year's teams between what you estimate and what you actually ran. And there's sort of an overs and unders. Sometimes you're faster than you thought you were, and sometimes you're a little slower. But impressive is anybody that can be a minute off of their time. DEA Southwest was 15 seconds off of their time. That's pretty impressive. They're very, very good, or they're doggone lucky to have completed it that good. But 108 teams were less than 15 minutes off. This comes from hard work, folks, your hard work. Because the only way to determine your ability is to know your runners. There is no crystal ball, no other gift you can get. that will tell you how fast you're going to run without knowing who your runners are. And then putting them to a test, some kind of test, to say what they say they can run, they actually can run. When I talk to lots and lots of people, sometimes I talk to very expert runners, and they know the difference between 6:59 a mile and 6 minutes a mile flat. And there's a huge difference between the two. But when people just throw around that term, hey, I can run 6 minutes a mile, well, what do you really mean? 6 minutes flat or 6:59? Which is it? So know your team. Come up with this estimation. 3 teams were over 2 hours off. Now, one absorbed a ton of penalties. Okay, that accounts for some of this. But the other 2 had catastrophic events occur, whatever they were, and caused their time to go way off. I've told you before, if you're too fast and you start early, then I'll simply stop you at an exchange point and make you wait there. Try to be absolutely careful with who starts last, because there's no margin for error there. If you're a 4 p.m. starter, it's because you can run under 15 hours and 30 minutes. And that's the only time we'll put you there. Runners without a team. We run across this quite often. Some individuals just don't have a team to run for. And it's unfortunate that not everybody we're trying to accommodate here will be able to get into the race. So there will be a few that are just impossible. Here's where it boils down to. You, the team captain, who want to use somebody that transferred out of your station, division, agency, and went somewhere else, you can use them depending on what category are you choosing to run in. The station category especially is designed to be specifically who is assigned to that station and no one else. No retirees, nobody that's transferred out of there and is not currently at that station. So that's one of the divisions that does really, the categories that does really matter, what runners you can use. This morning, the Rules Committee, I see 2 members up here on the stage, met this morning to talk about 2 questions of eligibility. If you have questions of eligibility of someone, send it to me. I will forward it to the Rules Committee. If it can wait until the 25th of January, our next scheduled meeting, then we'll adjudicate it there. If not, they're going to do this via email and try to get an answer to you as quickly as possible. So questions of that nature of eligibility, or any questions about the race, contact me. If it's something I can answer, I'll answer it right to you right then and there, or I'll send it off to the Rules Committee. One of the more sort of simpler questions is the invitational categories, of which there are numerous possible selections. Requires you to have 2 non-sworn runners. Non-sworn means, first of all, any reserve. A reserve is considered non-sworn for these purposes. Non-sworn otherwise means anybody that is full-time an employee of your station, division, or police agency. But you must have 2 runners run and complete a stage of the race in order to qualify in the invitational category. We have occasionally the requirement to have a combined team of combined agencies. If you're doing this and I'm unaware of it, please make sure that I am aware of it, because believe it or not, if you finish last in the race, no one's going to question you much. If you win a mug and you beat somebody else out of a mug, then they're very quick to do an investigation. Who's on your team? What is their names? Where are they assigned? If they're non-sworn, who are they? And these are all pretty sharp, quick detectives. They'll figure it out. And they'll say, wait a second here. That person's not a member of Glendale Police Department. Why are they running with this team? And they'll bring that to the attention of the Rules Committee in the war room, and then they'll start the investigation from there. So don't put yourself in that position. If you're going to combine, make sure that I am aware of this. I do the best that I can to match the team name to all of the agencies or stations or whatever are running in that team. Sometimes I do run out of space on the computer, but we try to make sure that we get everybody listed there. On the table here, and Michelle has in front of her what I had, 29, now we have 27. These are stopwatches. You will need one stopwatch in the follow vehicle, one. And it's not to time the runners. It is to time delays. Helicopter lands in the roadway, we shut down the roadway, everybody's going to get delayed. In order to have the delay reflected into your team time, it must be accurate, not a guess. So the stopwatch is in that follow vehicle for that purpose. I have a bunch of extra stopwatches. They're on sale there for $5. You can't beat that. You need one, see Michelle today and purchase a stopwatch. Remembrance on the bib number and on the decal that goes on the baton. I'm beginning to gather that information now from a few teams. If you intend to have someone that has participated on your team in the past year and you want their photo on your bib number, then send me that photograph. Now send me that photograph as an attached JPEG file. The best that you can come up with. And if there's time available, and I have a good friend of mine that has gotten into photography and Photoshop and all of that, then I'll try to turn that photograph into the best that it can be so that it can be displayed on your bib number. So that is possible to do. Get me that information and we'll see to it that that gets done. Their name, their serial number, badge number, call sign, whatever you think best fits that individual can then go also on the running baton, on the decal on the baton. So I will need to have their name and then whatever number is significant to them and to you so that I can place that on the baton. Send me that information. One more step. At the award ceremony, at the beginning of the award ceremony, there's an opportunity that we do to display all of those same members that have passed away in that year's time. That photograph and that information is sent directly to Reuben Crane here, the general manager, who gathers that information and prepares to have that slideshow put together. So when you send it in, if you send it to me, I'm going to forward it to Reuben. On the minutes, it will have the information there that you need to have. Send it directly to Reuben. His email address will be included here. Flashing vests, and if you look on the corner over here at the lap rack store, you'll see several flashing vest styles. The runners that run from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., and I mean sharp. You will hear an announcement said at the exchange points as we get closer to 7 p.m. that says, if you're leaving this stage after 7 p.m., 1900, you must have a vest on. And you'll have that vest on until 0700 hours Sunday morning. After those hours or before those hours, no, you don't need to have the vest. So be sure you have a supply of these running vests. Now these are very good and the best price that we can humanly get them at. You can certainly buy better vests than these, but that's up to you. One of the teams that happened to, I said, look through this information or find a product. This comes from Clovis PD, and I want to tip my hat to Clovis for doing this. They found a product that I think will work very well to give us additional reflective material for the runner, the nighttime runner. This material is called Safety Skin. It'll be in the minutes, safetyskinproducts.com. It goes on much like a deodorant, like a roller, and it rolls on. And what I'm suggesting to you is that the nighttime runners place this material on their front shins, their back legs, and their arms. We will be a light show out there like nobody's ever seen. It'll look like skeletons running. But the fact that you can see them out there is what's all that's important here. And especially as they approach the exchange point, with the lights in the eyes, it's kind of tough to always see that somebody's actually coming in. This will help to make that possible. So take a look at this product. I would suggest that you get the material yourselves as teams, captains, have it available for your nighttime runners, and put it on. A few teams brought in their FRS radio to have it taken a look at today. Have you got one right there, Margie? The FRS radio. This FRS radio, a radio much like this, is required in every single follow vehicle. You must have one. Tuned in to channel 3, transponder 18. It is there for follow car to follow car transmission. For monitor to follow car. From me to the follow car, if you're not listening, I'm just going to yell at you till I get your attention, to have you turn this on and be sure you're monitoring this so that you're driving correctly. That's the idea of the FRS radio. Bring yours in at the next meeting up here at this table where Jeff and Margie are right now. They'll inspect it. They'll tell you, yep, yours is in good shape. Or no, you left the batteries in it for a year. You can throw it away. Or you bought the wrong one. So be sure that you have it inspected and you know it's good to go. I've given you the due dates for a few things. Let me go over them quickly here. The team t-shirts, the 3rd of January. Your category form, February 1st. The communications form deadline, and very critical here, the 26th of January. Your volunteer form, the 17th of February. And let me stop there for a moment. Real important to the volunteer is the officer in charge. You've given me volunteers over the years. Many of them I've used constantly over and over again as the officer in charge. In a few days, I'm going to go back through last year's list, and I'm going to go back and find out. And I'm going to call you and say, is this same volunteer coming back again? Are they available? Because if they are, I want to use them as the OIC. They've been over that a number of years. I want to use them again. In a very short period of time, the next few weeks, I'm going to make direct contact, me to that volunteer. There are questions of locations of equipment, other questions that I need to talk to that volunteer directly. So I'm going to be calling you to find out if that's the same one. But you have until the 17th of February to come up with your volunteer. Your estimated time, the 26th of February. The 27th, 28th, 29th, if there is one in February this year, Tony and I will begin to go over all of the estimated times to determine where do we place these teams. What time do they start? And to get that start time information to you as quickly as possible so you can make your plan of, are you going to be in Baker at 5 a.m. or at 11 a.m.? Makes a difference as to what time you leave Las Vegas. The assignment of your volunteer. The initial test is in the inverse order that you've paid your entry fee. A team came up to me today and said, we'd like our volunteer to have such and such a position, and we know that we paid the 22nd team to have paid. And I said, well, you're probably going to get your choice of assignments. Find out what your volunteer wants to do, and more than likely, they're going to get that assignment. If you're 180th, no. The likelihood is that person's not going to get their choice of assignments. They're going to get whatever I happen to see as a need at the time I reach the 180th position in filling volunteers. I hope New York Police Department is listening into the information today, as well as I know Detroit Police Department is, and Detroit is going to run in the race. And I'm sure Detroit probably never heard of Baker to Vegas in their life until a LAPD transplant became the chief of police. And that's why Detroit's here. But New York Police Department, in their last conversation that I had with them, was in need of support personnel. So I said, a lot here in Southern California where it's nice and sunshine and no snow, there has to be New York transplants. So those of you on your team that have New York transplants that want to assist NYPD in this effort to run Baker to Vegas, please contact me. I'll send your information on to them, and hopefully it all works out. Palm Springs Police Department sent me a flyer on a 5K race. So I took a look through the information on the flyer to say just how's this going to look and all of that sort of thing. And it's a 5K race. And I happened to find out that not only is it a 5K race, but it is a money race where they're going to give away $500 to the first place law enforcement male and the first place law enforcement female. I thought, wow, they're about 45 years too late for me. I'd go run that race, try to win. Now, if I run the race, it'll be trying not to be last. But I'll send the flyer to you. It's a great race. If you want to participate in it or send it out to your flyer or your folks that you think have a shot to win, go for the $500 if you think you can. If you have events like this, please send them to me. Happy to send it along. I know the Scorpion Relay was a pretty good success for the sheriffs that put it on out there. And I hope that you had a good time participating if you did that. But I'll take the tickets now, Tony. Let's have the raffle. Anybody else filled out their raffle ticket? Turn it in right now. You could be a winner. Don't be late. While Tony is gathering those, on the website today, and I sent this information out, we did get a number of people to reply, is a link for teams where you can, well, hold on, Tony. A link for teams where you can place your information about your team. And I think it's a good idea. It's a nifty idea. There's a lot of teams out there that have some really extraordinary websites. Me, I am just a plain look at a website, find the information, and leave. But others, it's really pretty entertaining, interesting to look at. We're going to shuffle these just a little bit here. Oh, I'm going to anyway. And Tony's going to pick the winner. Where's the card? Mark Abrams here from Mobile Radio Associates has a, what is it, Mark?
It's a $50 gift card for the Elephant Bar.
Oh, there you are. $50 gift card for Elephant Bar. So in 1 second here, we're going to have a winner. Okay, Arturo Macias. Where are you, Arturo? You're the winner. even without the clock posted behind us, normally I have that clock, so I can tell what time of day it is and how am I moving along. It is 12:55, and we've consumed our regulated try to make this done in an hour time frame. It doesn't seem like we have lots of time, but yet there's still enough time for you to get the jobs and the functions you need to get done. I say this because I spoke to a brand new team captain who I know a few weeks ago was a happy-to-go-lucky officer at North Hollywood Division, and then somebody all of a sudden touched him on the shoulder and said, oh, by the way, take on this assignment. Do Baker to Vegas. Good luck. And do a good job. And I'm sure they're trying to pull all those things together to figure out how to do that. Put the time into it, and you can get the function done. If you procrastinate, and you're going to be scrambling around the last minute, and it shows. So put the effort into it, and you'll get everything you need accomplished, as well as what we're trying to do accomplished. The 25th of January is our next scheduled meeting. We're going to try to get a lion's share of our t-shirts ordered in and distributed then. If you have your t-shirt order now, we're still available on the stage to take care of that need, so please do this after the meeting is over. Good luck. We'll see you at the next time. Mark, you use your